Our MC will not be joining us this evening, but I believe we'll be seeing him on Saturday. But at any rate, 22nd of September. It is 2 days away before fall Brookline, so we're counting on seeing a lot of you guys up at the event. And sorry if some of you guys can't make it, but hopefully we'll see you in March if you can't make it then. But at any rate, that's the big reminder. If hopefully it's all in everybody's calendar, and hopefully we'll see everybody there. There is, I'm not sure how, I think it was only recently announced that there is going to be a training class on FM alignment. I think Alan Finger is going to be giving it. So for those who want to see it, which I'm definitely going to be attending, I think this would be great. Alan's a great presenter, and he knows a lot, but that's true with pretty much everybody in this club. But he'll wouldn't surprise if you have a PowerPoint slide presentation to back it up. So and the proper equipment. So I think for all of us people with FM radios, or at least part of one of your bands, I think you'll find this interesting. But otherwise, it's a pretty good turnout, and looking forward to seeing everybody.
Alan asked for someone to videotape. Did anyone? Somebody talked about it, but
yeah, it's a work in progress. Admittedly, because my plan is, by the way, will be, the usual still photos will be taken, so I'll be doing that, and also another video walkthrough will be done. Hopefully, this will be a little bit better version of what was done for the May Brookline. But my co-host here, Tom, is going to help out, maybe help spot some of the interesting, unique electronics as well. So we'll try. I'll shoot for like maybe a 30-ish minute walkthrough. So don't be surprised if some of you who are vendors will get a chance to be part of it. So hopefully we'll see you there. But in terms of recording, I don't have a stand because I'm using a Fire tablet to do the recording. So it seems a very straightforward platform, and I can just upload when I get home directly to YouTube. It could, in theory, record. It's just the problem with it, without having a video camera, is video cameras you can change the zooming, you can set up more more direct control. Whereas a tablet, you're more limited in that regard. I could try doing it, but the problem is I don't have a stand for it. So I'd be going still holding it for the entire hour, which is, you see a little shaking or whatever. It may not be that satisfying unless I can find something in the next 24, 48 hours. It's going to be challenging, but it's not the ideal platform anyway. So if someone else does have a video camera, that'd be perfect. I just don't happen to have one because most of mine are all just, but few video clips I take are with my phone, and it's only a 30-second, shot, something interesting, someone's electronics, just to get a little quick picture, but of its operation.
John?
Yeah.
John, a music stand. If anybody has a music stand, you could put your tablet on that.
Potentially, as long as it has a cut through, so it can actually the camera plus has the angle, so it needs to be basically standing about, depending on how high it is, but basically facing down directly.
Yeah, maybe not that high. I'll check one I have.
Well, I'll have it with me. I'll bring my power cord with me just in case, because it will, in a 30, 45-minute video will probably take the good part of the battery out. So I'll probably have to recharge it so that I have a chance of. Memory won't be a problem because I think I have 64 gig on it, and that's not gonna be a problem. I don't store that much on there. It's more of a tablet for the airplane, really, than anything else. I don't carry a ton on it. At any rate, the good news is there's gonna be lots of opportunities for hopefully people miss it to view what happened. If we're lucky, we'll get the FM alignment class recorded in some way. But stay tuned on that. But at any rate, so I guess next on the agenda, did anyone have any announcements? So the next thing I'm going to cover will be like anyone have anything to sell as preview for the show, but I'll do that next. But any other announcements about other club events or interesting events we should be aware of besides the obvious one on Saturday?
I got one.
Oh, Okay.
The New
You, Len?
England Wireless and Steam Museum is having their steam up October 1st.
October 1st, right around the
Yeah.
corner.
Yeah, so that's coming up.
That's is that a Saturday? Saturday, right? Yeah, it's
I
Saturday.
believe it's a Saturday, yeah.
I'm out of town. I'm disappointed. I won't be able to make it, but others can.
At the steam up, do they have any radio exhibits or other than the regular museum?
No, just a regular museum and the
Yeah,
Massey Station.
Yeah, no flea market or anything.
No.
Is there a steam up flea market?
There is not. I think some guys do sell stuff, but it isn't big.
Yeah.
I went to the Connecticut Radio Museum in Windsor last weekend.
Yeah.
They had a flea market, and I took a few pictures, not too much, but nice exhibits inside. I could show those at some time, and also some booty I got at a flea market recently. So
Oh, sure.
it's
Well,
less
if
than
you-
10, like 10 pictures total. So
we could fit you in, Q. This is like I said, it's mostly an open forum. We'll just fit, I have Tom has his pictures from Friedrichshafen. I have some more recent Arizona Antique Radio Club from the most recent event I attended that Rob also bought from. But this is a pretty much open forum. So
Okay.
no problem. We'll fit you in there. Rich, I think you had something.
Yeah, John, just to back up a second, we at the NJRC for the last 3 meetings, we've been using the Mevo camera. You have to look it up. It's an amazing little gadget, and it's about the size of a pack of cigarettes. Not a very good analogy nowadays, but that's in essence what it is.
Okay.
It picks up its own audio.
Yep.
We've been running it live on YouTube now, and then we archive it also. Mevo, MEVO. And it's
MEVO.
less than $400.
Very
It's
interesting.
It's amazing. It's an amazing thing.
Well, you know what? Maybe that's something that I could take up with Larry and see about if we want to think about doing that as a club resource, because as you can imagine, just chasing people down to try and get a camera is always tough, because it depends if the person be there or but if we had a club, like most of the time, like either myself or one other person is bound to have it. So if I'm not going to make it, hand it off to someone else, or vice versa, and we can do the recording. That's a great suggestion, Rich. So I imagine something one could find on Amazon or.
Yeah, they're available all over the place, and there's second and third generations now too.
That's really good to know, and I assume fairly straightforward to operate. Not that I'm plenty tech savvy, but I want to make sure anyone who's
You can operate it on your phone.
yeah,
It's absolutely amazing.
mobile is notoriously bad at Brookline, I believe, and I don't know if they have a wireless connection or not there. An internet connection. I was going to bring my old Google Pixel phone, which is actually quite capable, and record it with that, but I'm not going to be there. So just use the phone and fill up those gigabytes.
Well, that's an option, because I do have one of my. I had thought about that as a fallback. I may take my. Well, I'm going to have my secondary iPhone. It's no longer. It's just a camera now. Effectively, I just kept it. I have enough memory on it. That won't be a problem. It'll be battery powered. It drains quickly because, problem is I had it for like 4 or 5 years, and the battery, hangs in there, but it's not going to last an hour. So I'd have to keep it plugged in, which maybe is achievable if I have an extension cord. So I'm going to take it. I'm planning to take it with me. I'm taking the power cord with her, and I think my wife has a stand for a phone. So I'm going to grab that. It's just, I do that as like a secondary option, but it's going to go in the car with me. If we can't find anything else, I'm going to give it a shot. And
That'd be great. I'd appreciate it. I really want to see that.
Yeah, hopefully you'll do a decent job. Speaking of which, here is President Larry is about to join, so he has a chance to sneak in anything else he needs to say besides what I've been. But that's a great suggestion, Rich. Thank you for that. That's
All
something we
right.
can.
Also, John, you had Kutztown 46 this past weekend, which was fantastic. It was a great show. I was a vendor there, did very well, and most other vendors did also. Weather was fantastic, and yeah, it's really one of the largest venues now in the Northeast. So yeah, I'm sure many guys have gone down. There's people from Georgia, come from all over, absolutely all over. And of course, to blow our own horn, New Jersey Antique Radio Club will be having their annual fall Swap Meet Hamfest, and that's November 19th at the Parsippany PAL. And I know some fellows come down from Connecticut too.
Good to know. No, appreciate
Might
that.
even come down from Vermont for that one.
Yeah, they do. Hi, Tom.
Maybe I could give a little report on the MIT Hamfest last Sunday.
That'd be
It
great.
was, really, really incredible. I've seldom had an experience like this in roughly 65 years of Hamfest. A guy pulled in with a pickup truck full of equipment, and he said, the widow of this ham just told me to get rid of it, wants it to go to people who appreciate it. The prices are anything you want to pay. And the money's not going to the widow, it's just paying for my gas. So I took a look in the pickup truck, and there was a DX60 with a VFO. There was a Heathkit Kilowatt. There were just on and on. So I said, give you $100 for the whole lot. And I promised myself I'd never do this, but I put it all on my table, and it was gone by just doubling the price. It was all gone in 2 hours, but it was a lot of fun. The other thing that was really neat was the guy set up next to me with 20 2 terabyte hard disk drives that he had tested, and he was getting $20 a piece. I figured I'd wait till the end of the show, and at the end he had 10 left. I offered him $10 a piece, and I got those. So you never know when great bargains are going to show up, and that was just a fun show. The people who show up at the MIT Fest are very varied. Lots of professors, lots of students. It's a great show. Were you there, Hugh? You seem to be nodding.
I didn't make this one, unfortunately. I was beat from going to the Connecticut thing the day before. But I set up probably 2 or 3 times a year, and I do love that.
How many vendors?
It's really a
How many
fun
vendors
time.
usually show?
I would guess that there were, let's say 20, 40, say, call it 100 vendors.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big parking lot, and there were 3 levels of the parking lot, and I'm figuring 20 vendors on each side, so roughly 100 plus or minus 20.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a show. All kinds of stuff shows up. Enigma machines, for example.
Yeah, some guy actually brought a space capsule. He had to park it outside on the side
Really?
on the street, but he had a real honest to goodness Apollo or something space capsule. He only wanted $60,000 for it.
Oh, how did he come up with that? Was it like, in Honest Bob's used space capsule,
I have no idea.
That's pretty cool though. Is it fully functional?
Used to work for NASA.
It wasn't all burned up, I can tell you that.
It's missing the Saturn V, but otherwise it works fine.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's not something you see every day, right? You have to go. The last time I saw one was when I had to go down to the Washington Air and Space Museum. So that's pretty unique. I'd like to take that home. I know that might cause a little bit of disturbance among the neighborhood. But
I remember one time I took a steam engine to the show, just a toy steam engine, and this old guy came over and he said, "I want that. I'll buy it. I want to use it for testing my fusion experiments." And I sort of laughed to myself, nuclear fusion. Yeah. We've heard that story before, but he gave me the money and I sold it to him. Then some guy came over to me and tapped me on the shoulder. And did you know, Tom, that was Professor so-and-so? Of all the people in the world, He's a professor at MIT, is the most likely to make fusion work. So I got to see him with a fusion device, testing it with the steam engine.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. But let's see here. So Larry, you just joined. We were just starting the announcement part of the program. Did you have anything beyond? We sort of covered, of course, Fall Brookline being the obvious event around the corner, plus the filming of the FM alignment, which we're coming up with a few, see if we can come up with a game plan for that. Did you have anything to add there, Larry? Assuming you're on.
Yeah, well, I am on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes the space bar doesn't work when I unmute, so I'm just checking.
Right.
So anyway, the only thing I have to add is please vote for the 2023-24 officers and directors. And I will have a limited number of paper ballots at the show and a ballot box to put them in. So we will be adding them to the current vote tally after at 10 o'clock when voting closes. And as soon as possible afterwards, we'll announce the next slate of officers and directors.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for that reminder, was the voting. Plus, of course, if you have the PDF or Microsoft Word document that's been socialized a few times in your email account, just fill that out and electronically send it to our secretary, Paul Burish, which you can send either the tube talk at gmail.com or
Actually, John, the deadline is passed for that. Oh, wait, no, it isn't. It's noon tomorrow.
Right.
For emailed ballots. Yep.
So it's not too
I
late
think.
for the evening.
No, wait. I'd have to check that. I think the deadline might be passed because.
Oh, you may be right.
Paul's supposed to get me the results by noon tomorrow because that's what shortly thereafter I'll be leaving for Point South. And,
Okay.
and I see Mark has a cat.
Let me, am I on?
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah, you're on, Joe.
I have two cats, my wife and I. And this one here is the runt of the group, the little one, and just loves to walk up and down my keyboard, which I have to turn over so the cat doesn't run my computer. Hi. So anyway, that's cat number 3.
There you go. Very nice. So now that I think we've covered the announcements part then. So voting, Fall Brookline, and then of course we have the STEAM, the STEAM event at the New England Wireless and STEAM Museum coming up October 1st, and of course, hey, Rich, was Bob Bennett there? Did he post a video yet of?
Yeah, Radio Wild. It's up on Radio Wild's YouTube now.
Great, because maybe I'm not sure it'll be the next Zoom meeting, but certainly the follow-on will probably cover Kutztown as well. So anyone who's taken any photos or any experiences will probably have a typical meeting talking about that, and then the meeting, either with that meeting or a follow-on, will cover across Fall Brookline. And so sort of coming up. So I think we have a guest for the first weekend in October. I think the name escapes me because Paul arranged it, but we'll be covering Stromberg Carlson. I forget the gentleman's name, who's one of the experts on it, but that's right, who I think will be joining us. But we'll stay tuned on your email for that. So then I guess next is for anyone who has anything they'd like to preview for Fall Brookline, or any which John is going to be first up, and anyone else, anyone has anything like recent acquisitions, or of course anything they want to give us a preview for. That's absolutely a good time to do it. Get a little bit of eye time on it. So John, how about you first?
Hello there. I haven't been participating in these Zoom events. Sorry about that.
Right.
Nor to the meets, all during COVID. So it's really been unfortunate. But we're going to venture up to the Brookline meet this time, set up outside. And I have a few things. One, I've taken the time to do some writing and putting a book together. I'm still planning to do the book for my collection, but this is a draft. I'll have that up there. And this is some reprints of articles from Radio Digest Illustrated. Now, they really are fantastic articles in that they have a drawing of how to hook up each radio. And there's some, how many, let's see, there's 79 sets in this, some 160 pages. And I'll be taking pre-orders for this, 10% off and free shipping. So I will have a flyer that you can take and an example of the back. But, and as for the book on my collection, that's still in the works. I hope to work on that next year, but this should be published by the end of the year.
Hey,
And
John?
so, yes.
I see the period covered is like from the teens to the 20s. Is that accurate? And how soon can I get one of those books?
Well, I have a draft and hopefully by the end of the year. Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be, I'll be mailing them out. If you could get to the meet, you can do a pre-order and you'll be one of the first ones to get it. But these are all radios from the 20s, and it's just amazing. When I saw these, they're the collectible radios of today.
John, I happened to see your collection back when you had it in the barn. Is that still there?
The collection, no, the collection was sold in 2016.
Yeah, just when I didn't have any money. I remember it sorely.
But no, and here, what do we have? The Adams Morgan RA10 DA2 AMRAD 602634, Clap Eastham HRHZ, Cutting Washington 11, Crosley Harco, and that's just the first handful. But there are 87 radios like that. 79 rather. So take a look. I'm going to have a draft, pre-published draft available at the show. So I've got about 6 slides. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
them
Go
there?
ahead. Yeah, just one quick thing, folks, is that it's just, I'm not sure it's someone's, it might be some background noise. If you don't talk, if you could just put yourself on mute, and then when you talk, just unmute yourself. It's just, we're getting some background. I'm not sure what it is. It may be just general, but John, you are on.
Okay, let's see here. Oh boy. All this sharing is always, there we go.
I think I enabled sharing. At least I hope I did. Yes, I did.
Yeah, there. Now I have to turn sharing on, right?
Yeah, you just have to
share screen.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, take your time, John. No problem.
You got it?
Yes, we do. Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So that's the book there, and here is the sample pages that, like on the right, you can see for the RADA or RC there. It's amazing, wonderful detail, and then the pages on the left are the description that was in the article. I had them all retyped. Jeanette Legray did all the typing for me.
Wow.
So she retyped all the articles because they weren't scannable. Too many mistakes and so on. Anyway, I'm gonna have a few. I pulled out some of my boxes of smalls. Here's some, you've probably seen this sort of stuff, but
oh, cool.
I'll take those to the show. Have a pile of condensers and that sort of stuff. A nice slide there, condenser in the back. Murdoch, couple of Murdochs, and some tests. Those are just a handful of things that hopefully I'll have a couple of tables outdoors though. So not quite going to venture indoors yet. I'm probably walk around quickly, but I'm super COVID cautious. So anyway, stop out at my booth outdoors, and it'd be a red car, red Subaru, a couple of
Great.
tables out in the back.
That's great. Well, that book looks great. That Mark, that has your name written all over it, judging from the topics.
Oh, it's all 20 stuff.
Yeah, it looks great.
You know,
I cannot wait to get a copy in my hands. But yeah, John and I share a love for the earliest of the radios. And I've been to his collection. Long drive down skinny roads, but we got there. And I'll just, John, you collect me, and I'll never touch it. I'll never get close to what you had. But just an absolute amazing collection.
well, I loved over the 50 years or so putting it together, and had a great fun time having those 2 auctions. We had barbecues, feed people, they will come. Even from,
Yeah.
it was a day after Kutztown, so there was a race up from Kutztown to get to the time for the barbecue. But we had a great time, and as I said, that I've been to many estate auctions, and the owner wasn't there. I said, I want to go to my own estate auction. So I'm 82 now, and still doing pretty good. But I still got a lot of stuff left, and just a little bit there. So probably have some garage sales out here. So anyway, we'll move on to the next person then.
Okay, great. Well, let's see here. I know that Joe, you had a key you wanted to show.
Yeah, I would like to also.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have plenty of time to circle through people. Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yeah,
I have a question for the group, if I may.
sure.
As seeing as we've got a bunch of electrical guys here, I am cleaning out my yard and some of the barns and what have you. And I came across a 1918 bipolar electric motor. And I collect small electric motors, as you've seen in pictures. And I'm just wondering if anybody is versed in the series wound DC commutator type motors from the early days. Anybody?
Roger Boudignol collects motors of very, very, very early motors. So, and he usually shows up at the show.
Oh my goodness, I have to talk to him.
He
My
has,
wife
he
won't.
has a world-class collection of motors, the likes of which I've never seen before.
I would love to get some of that unobtainium, but being on fixed income at this point, but I would love to see his collection. So I'll have to talk to him. I'm going to try to make it to the show if I can. I also am COVID cautious.
Right. That's certainly understandable. You'll see just from experience, you will see people with masks, so you'll be in company. You're not you won't be the only people in that regard. But hey, Joe, are you in a position where you can show the key, or do you want me to cycle back to you later? Or should we have Joe? Our friend Joe from Michigan. All right, why don't I circle back? Joe, I'll chat. I'll send a chat window if you're available. We can fit you in anytime. This is all open forum anyway. Bruce, I don't mean to pick on you, Bruce Frederick, but looks like you have a set of stuff that you probably wouldn't mind giving a quick preview, because that looks like a nice backdrop.
The backdrop is new, and it's just I'm very jealous of the backgrounds that most of the people here have. I don't have anything like that. I'm sitting in an office I share with my accountant wife, and so all I have is history books and stuff like that. And actually, the items in my background, only about half of them are going to be in Brookline. This is actually a picture I took about a year ago, which pretty much shows my output from my first year. I retired in October of 19. COVID hit spring of 20. And in the fall of 20, I was dreading the oncoming dark, long winter of isolation. So I decided to tackle this. Let me see if I can do this. Nope. Decided to tackle this TO. My son had just bought a house a few years ago, and this thing was sitting in one of the rooms. The owner's son said, "Hey, if you want that, it's yours." And he had the presence of mind to know that his geeky dad just might like to have it. So I grabbed onto it, kept it in a closet for a few years, and then because of COVID and a complete lack of understanding of what it was going to entail, I tackled it. So the TO was my first project, and the power cord had been cut off with extreme prejudice. I opened it up, and it looked like there had been a spectacular sand resistor explosion in the power section. And I didn't know any better. I thought, okay, I'll just start plugging away at it. This was long before I discovered NEVEC, and but I had discovered ARF and the Antique Radio Forum, and I took my time. And every time I ran into a problem, I just sort of mined all of the existing discussions. And every time I ran into a problem, I was able to find a solution that had already been discussed 10 years ago, whatever. I also had the good fortune to discover user, what was his name? Bad Restorer. And he had put together a how to restore an H500. Beautiful, beautiful document that I guess a lot of people from ARF had contributed to. This is a G500, and it was close enough that between those documents and all the threads I found, I was able to get it to about 99%. I'm really kind of proud of it. And I'm not selling that one. The one below it is an RCA T20, I believe it is. And I'm not selling that one either. And that's because I have two daughters-in-law that have both expressed interest in each of those radios. And it's the first time my sons or my daughters-in-law have expressed anything of, any interest at all in anything my wife or I have. And, you say, hey, would you like this dining room set? Nah, but they like the radios, so I'm holding on to them.
All right.
My second project, the RCA was actually my third project. My second project was, if I can do this with my finger, this triplet, and I think it's a 2412 emissions tube tester, because after I did the TO, I realized that I really wanted a tube tester. And I had picked this up. I used to work for Prime Computer in the 1980s, and a colleague had decided to sell a whole bunch of stuff, and he had put it on the online bulletin board, which was really hot stuff back then. And I talked to him, and he gave me, I bought the lot. I had a ICO RF generator and an old Heathkit oscilloscope. The Heathkit oscilloscope, I realized, was way beyond me, and I got rid of that early on, and I've never regretted it. The ICO signal generator, I still cry myself to sleep every night that I think about it, because I could have really used it over the past couple of years, and I didn't appreciate what I had. But for some reason, I held on to this triplet, kept it in the closet for 30 some years, and decided that would be my next project. And I ended up not only refurbing it, but with the assistance of a triplet expert on ARF, I actually enhanced it to be more in keeping with the later models. The bus, I don't know if I can show it. The up and down switches, the up and down positions for all the different contacts. In the early models, the original model I had, they're reversed from what they became a few years later. And there are a whole bunch of emissions testers out there. There's Heathkit and I think ICO, and there's some private label triplet like the NRI Radio Institute, and they all basically are electrically identical. And the ICO, the most recent ICO tube data from the 70s actually applies to all of these. And now that I've rewired this thing to reverse those switches, I can use a very, very complete ICO tube tester document and cover just about everything I'm ever going to encounter. So since it was for my own personal workbench, I debated whether or not to drill holes and do this, but it's like, it's going to be for me. I'm going to use this sucker on every project. I'm going to violate my own personal rule of not changing a chassis or anything. And so that also I'm going to be holding on to. The radio on top of that is an Emerson, really cheap Emerson. Friend of mine just had it, wanted me to get it working. And I said, sure, I can do that. I'll clean it up and I'll get new knobs. He said, no, don't do that. I want it exactly the way it is. I've got a place up in Maine and I don't want it to get stolen over the winter. And I want to have the story that, you know, I don't know, he had this thing in his head where he wanted it to look like something that might have been sitting in a Maine rural gas station on the shelf for years. So I promised not to touch any dirt. When I was going into it, if dirt fell off, I'd smear it back on again. And I got it running and gave that back to him. So that won't be at Brookline. And then this way, okay, the two bottom items are they're basically low-end Hallicrafters. And in addition to those two, I also got an S108 at Spring, Nashua, and I finished that. So I am happy to get rid of them. They were fun to work on. I learned a lot from them. They work pretty well, but I just don't care for Hallicrafters like I thought I would. Like I said last time, I lusted after them as a teenager, but I will be selling both of those. The bottom one's a WR1500, I think it is. And it's a living room version of a S118 Mark II. And it works pretty well. S38 was a pain in the neck, but I got it working. I got the BFO working, which was very challenging. Those will all be up there. And the top one finally is a 1966 Radio Shack realistic tunable high and low VHF monitor radio. Got it from an estate sale, cleaned up very nicely, did the filter caps, but didn't go too far nuts with it. And it actually works very well. The only problem is, because it was from the early to mid 60s, it was only designed to handle 15 kilohertz width signals. So it basically doesn't receive anything anymore except pagers.
Right.
So it might be of interest to a collector of VHF equipment or Radio Shack equipment. So those are the only three items I'm going to be taking out of there, up there from this background, and everything else that I will be taking up is pretty much on the groups.io
Great.
posting.
Yeah, that was a great posting. I saw that, Bruce. Thank you. Well, that's great. Does anyone else have any announcements or anything you want to show before we maybe hand off to Tom?
Hello,
Hello.
Brad here, AA1IP.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, I find myself in the unenviable position of not traveling too much, so I won't be attending the show.
How's that?
But I do need to thin out my collection of tubes, radios, test equipment, and books. And if nobody objects to this, I'll post as soon as I get the inventory drawn up, I'll post the address on the NEVEC site and say, come and get it if you want. Come and look at what I am offering here.
Sure. Absolutely. Do socialize over NEVEC groups.io, yeah. You're bound to find a home, I'm sure.
Good. It's a lifetime collection.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you live?
Meriden, New Hampshire.
Meredith?
Meriden.
Meriden.
We're on the west coast of New Hampshire
Okay.
and not far from the intersection of 89 and 91.
Oh, okay. It's not really too bad.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brad. All right. Anybody else with anything they want to share before?
Well, if you want to see the tuning mechanism of that old radio.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, Rob, go ahead. This must be your the British radio?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
sure.
asked, if it was mechanical or electrical tuning, and I just took some pictures before I cleaned the set up. I didn't want to invest too much because I kind of had suspicions the set was in rougher shape. But yeah, so what do I do here?
Oh, sure. You can share your screen. Yeah, yeah.
All right,
You should be good to go.
share screen. And okay, this first one just shows where the stator, the capacitor, has this selector. Can you see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and the selector drum on the end of it, and you can see this radio is a pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
Well, now wait a second. How come I can't? How do I get to the next one? What's going on here?
There should be like an arrow that allows you to go advance to the next.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for it. I don't see it anywhere.
Did you enlarge the if you decrease it to its lowest amount, smallest?
Yeah, that's where it is.
That's
Well, and maybe I'll just go to it and.
Worst comes to worst, you can unshare your screen, reshare if it. I've had that happen once before, and I was able to get it. Sometimes if you zoom in just even a little bit, it won't give you the arrow. But if you're at the lowest,
We just get it. Okay. So this is kind of just a quick shot. You can see in the front of it, it's all chain driven.
Oh yeah.
There's a small motor. Yeah, these chains are everywhere. It's really, really something else. And electrically, this is what's going on. There's power transformer. This is like a 12-volt tap that just goes into the selector drum that provides power for the motor. And then there's this light that comes off of the pilot lights. And I'm not sure the purpose of the light. It's at the back of the radio. It's like, hi. Anyway, this is how it's supposed to work.
Interesting.
And this is what the contact looks like. Like I said, this is prior to me cleaning it. It's been cleaned, well, blown off anyway since then. But it has these spring-loaded contacts. And the Banalic thing has tracks, and you set up the contacts so they find gaps in the track. It's kind of hard to describe, but you can see someone in here. Each wire has a tag on it as to what button it corresponds to. And here's that light bulb that's inside the radio at the back. I don't know. Yeah.
Does it light at all?
Well, this one doesn't because I suspect the bulb is dead, but it should. I don't understand why you put a light inside the radio.
I see. It's obviously not the pilot light,
no,
the
not
dial face.
And I did power it up. Let's see if this comes up.
The light is for the gremlins to be able to see while they're making hay.
I think you're right there, Adrian.
Okay, let's just cycle through again.
Oh yeah.
You'll hear some pretty nasty sounds at the end. That transformer?
The sound is not coming through all that well, but we can certainly see it moving.
Oh, that's as loud as it gets.
That's still pretty cool because you're just changing the selectors.
Yeah, just pushing those buttons. But the reason the camera kind of went off is because it starts humming really bad, like it's shorted out.
Oh, yeah, you don't want bad things to happen.
What was going on? This is the motor up in the corner. This is the motor up here, and it has. I should probably get better pictures of that. This switch has a rod that drops into it somehow, and that's what causes it to stop. And there's this butterfly kind of a thing on a clutch that I don't quite understand. But you can see the motor turning a little bit there.
Yeah.
So anyways, just trivia.
No, that's cool. I appreciate that. We appreciate you doing this, Rob. It's fun to see. This is one of those, kooky designs you just don't see every day.
Yeah.
What kind of radio is this?
It's an HMV. I'm going to say 149, but I don't think that's the right model. The 149 doesn't have this auto select tuning. It's an option.
Wow.
And 240 volts. And this is another problem that I just discovered a couple days ago. This power transformer here, when it heats up, the high voltage from the 5U4, there's a filament transformer.
Yeah.
A filament winding, and then, the plates go to each side of the high voltage.
Yeah.
Well, that 5U4 filament thing arcs over to the ground, and the whole
that's not good.
No, and I sweated about it, just wondering how I was going to address it. So what I did, I actually implemented today, but I'm not entirely done. There's a 6.3 volt winding for the filaments. Now, filaments are all low voltage, so I just took all the filament wiring off the transformer, calculated a series resistor to run the 5U4, and yeah, it comes up. The voltage came up and it didn't arc. So now I'm just going to put an external 6.3 volt filament transformer to light all the, and I'll get around it that way without having to try to find this weird power transformer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
All right, I'll just go with that.
No, that's great, Rob. I appreciate the tour. You have to share your continued saga.
There's a lot of weird stuff in this radio. I'm not kidding you. It's just very different. And after you think about it, I look at it, then I understand what they're doing. But when you first see it, you go, "What?"
No, we hope there's no Lucas Electrics in there now, right?
Oh well. All righty.
That's great. Thank you, Rob. That's awesome. Very interesting.
I find it very interesting to see setups like that. It's obvious that they were trying to get around some patent, and you have to wonder what patent they were building that crazy Rube Goldberg thing to get around.
I need help. How do I get the video on?
I'll be happy if I can
So
find
you
it.
guys can see what I look like.
So Rob, there should be on your Zoom, you can just turn on the lower left corner. There's either stop or
Oh yes, I see it now. Okay.
There you are.
There you go.
Oh, you got a nice shot of the light there.
There you
go.
Hey, hello everybody.
Oh, hello, Rob. But so if
I got a couple pictures if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
All right, let's see here. Let's
Not bad.
try
Can I get show? Let's see.
this one. Sure. Did that come up?
It's yep, it's there now.
Bunch of computers. There you go. Wonder if it's going to let me go through
I
them.
had a couple of those computers.
Yeah. So this is from the Wireless Museum in Windsor, Connecticut.
Yeah,
I was there last weekend for their flea market. Had a couple of random shots, by no means comprehensive. They had a broadcast room set up. They had this computer display, bunches of old radios, giant old telephone switchboard. So quite a few interesting things. I think I got, half a dozen pictures here. Here's some studio kind of transmitter shack set up. It looks like a facsimile machine here with the drum.
Oh, sure.
And bunches of radios that you guys know more about than I ever will. So there you go.
Wow.
So their tube display.
Oh, sure.
Let me see if I can zoom a little on that. Yeah.
I haven't been to the museum in a few years, but I remember some of this looks familiar.
Yeah. So it's probably online on their website. I actually haven't looked at that, but
This
there
is the
you go.
what museum?
It's an antique wireless museum.
I think
Is
it's
that the
what
name of it?
the vintage.
It's called the Vintage Communication Museum of Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Wow.
Thank you. So some batteries.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
How about that AB on the top? Huh? That's quite a
That's a
battery.
big one.
Yeah, I'd say so. You get to lift. You don't need to go to the gym with that one.
Right. So there's that. This is a poster of phones. I was with this guy, Kevin Eastman, who's bound to join the group any day now. He collects old phones. So I went down there with him, and he got a kick out of some of this stuff, and found a couple of people selling random bits of phones. Sort of Rube Goldberg, an old wall wooden one that somebody had added a dial to inside. But and he may be there Saturday. So if you see Kevin running around, say hi. So a lot of the sale was stuff from the museum, this picture included. So I just took a shot of it. But people looking through random boxes of stuff. I assume everything they have is donated. It didn't strike me that they're out there buying anything, but they seem to have an excess of equipment also. So not that many vendors. I'm going to say a couple of dozen, something like that.
Okay.
But it was interesting. It was a fun ride, a beautiful day to go down there. There's about equal number behind me from this shot here, so.
Got it. Yeah, here they are.
Yeah, not whatever. Doesn't.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to some. Yeah, it was a perfect day for it, and I've been to some of the shows. The swap meets in the past, and they, that looks about the right size. That's as big as I've ever seen. In fact, that's probably one of the larger ones I've seen, where you only had like 8 or 10 vendors. It was like, oh,
okay.
it felt a little bit bummed. I drove all out there. I was like, well, it's not much here.
Right.
It's all right. It was fine. I enjoyed the drive anyway.
And I guess Kutztown was over this day also. Is that right? Wasn't that last week?
Yeah, Rich was mentioning, but apparently it was spectacular, a great show with the corresponding great weather. So it sounded like it was a great event. And in fact,
check out Radio Wild and you'll see it.
Yeah, on YouTube you can see the video, and we'll probably, if not the next meeting we have, the following one, we'll probably invite Bob back for usual Kutztown report for anyone who went. To give us some any photos, or of course watch Bob's video.
Adam Vaughn was there. He probably took a bunch of pictures. He was also very excited. He got #1 transoceanic zenith. He spent some dough for it, but he was very excited to get that.
Oh, really? the 6G 705.
It has the airplane on it.
Yeah, the bomber radio. Yeah.
Right, bomber radio.
I'm restoring one of those right now.
How about that?
Yeah.
Nope. Maybe he'd like to talk to you.
Well, I don't know.
Otherwise,
I'm still trying to get information.
Otherwise, he's going to be talking to me. So
I don't know how far I should go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not so much the radio itself, but the cabinet and the dial and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there was a yard sale 2 weekends ago in Merrimack, New Hampshire, and I'm on the yard sale, estate sale list. Actually, it was whatever estate sale, and I saw some test equipment in a couple of the pictures, and I'm like, oh, do I go or do I not go? And I ended up going, and scored this tube tester here with all its little accessories.
Mhm.
This big giant Weller. And another copy of a Simpson 269. I think I have all of this series of this meter. There were 3 or 4 different. So this is just this, another one for spare parts or something.
What did you have to throw for the TV7?
I'm sorry?
What did you have to throw for the TV7?
So I'll show you all the stuff I got, and I'll tell you what I spent for everything. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's that. Then I got this Hickok 605A.
Great.
This one they had marked, I think 275. The other one was marked, I don't remember, 50 or 100. But again, I made a pile of things, so.
Sure.
This seems to be in pretty nice shape. I haven't put
Yeah.
power to it, but this will let me cull out the rest of the tube tester collection, I think, between these two. So these, which are rotated, let's try and unrotate them. So these 3, spectrum analyzer I was excited about. 10 kilohertz to 1.73. This actually turns on, and at least the calibration signal shows up on the screen.
Cool.
So I figured I'll finally be able to debug the FM antenna that doesn't work in my house.
There you go.
I have that signal generator down on the left.
What's that?
I have that signal generator down
There you
on the
go.
left.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. Everything was packed in this little basement, all kinds of boxes of stuff, a lot of people milling around. Towards the end of my time there, it quieted down a little bit, but I was just taking stuff and putting it out in a pile in the driveway, crossing my fingers that the guy wasn't going to give me too much of a hard time when it came time to, how much do you want for all this stuff? This scope I just grabbed. Because I like the look of it. It has the multimeter on top. It's missing its fuse and does not power up. So there's potential for that and another HP I have to work on. I'll probably use Tektronix scope to debug the HP scope. So then there were some tubes, a couple of boxes. The one under it has some bigger tubes in it. Nothing too much. There's several 6L6 GCs and whatnot. This box has 2 layers of 7 and 9 pin. I assume takeoffs, but the guy's kept his equipment, so presumably. I mean, it's always a question what to do with collections of tubes like this. I have a couple other boxes of them, so it's going to be a long couple of Saturdays. And time with a tube tester to
that's for sure.
do something with them or not. It's hard to say. There were some pencil tubes back here in that collection. A couple random boxes of electronic stuff on the floor. These 2 trays up on top. The SX70 and an HP frequency counter, interval meter, and a few rolls of magnet wire down here on the bottom. And I think that's the end of it. So $550 was what I paid for the lot of everything.
What you can get that alone for the TV7. Probably.
Well, there you go. And that was the one that wasn't priced high. The 605, he had the 275 marked on it. But it's one of those things. You make a pile out in the driveway. People are making their own piles. One guy's running around the room. He's got this box of, look like, microphone, headphone things. These are $200 all day long on eBay, blah, blah, blah. So it interesting experience of another seemingly passed on electrical engineer. So there you go.
Did well. You did well there, Hugh.
Yeah, you did
Okay,
very
good. Now I got to figure out how to unshare. Okay,
good.
There you go.
there we go. Okay,
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
yeah,
Good going. That's a real good
collection.
pile of stuff for the price.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're easy to subscribe to. In fact, I could send out the list. I'll get competition now, but I don't really need anything else. But I could send out the list of, estate sale notification things that dump the emails at me. And then it's, they often have 200 or 300 pictures, and I just go blasting through the pictures. Most of them I don't go to once a year, once every 2 years, hit something like this.
Sure.
So,
Oh, good find. Good. You came out
there we go.
with good
Yeah,
stuff.
right. The gravity is different at my house. Now it's more different.
That's fun. So, anybody else? Thank you, by the way. Anybody else before we? Oh, Adrian.
Yeah, just a quick note. I was at the Heritage Museum in Hudson on Saturday with my family.
Oh,
We went to see the 1917 Newport fly, which
Oh, wow.
does not have a radio in it. The guy actually had an HT, a handy talkie, and it took off a few times. It did some nice flying. It came down again, and the museum people talked about the airplane. It is the oldest flying aircraft in the world. 1917 Newport, made in France for the US. Actually, it was had UK roundels on it, but they did make them for the US for World War I. The other thing was there were 140 Model A Fords from every part of the East Coast. They had their club plates on, Massachusetts, Long Island, etc. And they were arranged in order of closed and open. There were hearses, there were pickup trucks. So I said, let's see what radios these things have in them. So I only managed to see 3. One of them didn't have a radio at all, didn't even have a hole in the panel. The other one had what looked like to be a very, very early 1930-ish or 35 type radio. And the next one I looked at had a modern car radio stuck in the dashboard. So that was interesting. I didn't manage to look at that anymore, but anyway, it was very exciting. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And if you've ever been to the Collings Museum,
it's
in
superb.
Hudson. Pardon?
It's superb. I was funny enough, Adrian. I've been there back in June, but I was there this past Tuesday because our company had we had our outing. We usually have an outing. We haven't had one in several years, and we had a private outing there. So we had the whole place to ourselves. And I saw the Newport. Of course, it wasn't flying at that point. It was just parked in the hangar.
Oh, you were there?
I was only on Tuesday, and
Yeah.
had the whole place to ourselves. It was about 100 and I don't know. There's about 160 of us total, but we broke up into groups. And and if any of you who live anywhere in the area want to find one of the most underrated museums in Metro West Boston, do check it out because it's their armor collection alone is unusual and very comprehensive. It's a great museum to walk through. They of course have some aircraft interleaved among the armor, and they have a nice car museum, mostly pre-war cars for the most part, I would say, but some nice pieces. They do have a Al Capone's 1940 Cadillac. I guess that's the newer one in their collection. Nice Hardy V16 underneath the hood. So if you want torque, there's your car.
I have a good friend of mine, Tony Rock. He lives up in Hudson, and he's really involved in that museum. He's done a number of displays for them. And one of the ones he put together is a Lancaster radio navigator position with all the radios and transmitter and navigation equipment, everything. And he's had that up there several times.
He often sets up next to me. We set up the Enigmas on one side and
So
Tony's
you know
on
him.
the other. And he's got that Lancaster, just like you're sitting in the airplane. He's
Yep,
got it
yep.
working. He's got the dynamotor working. He's
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
And he
Oh,
fits
yeah.
that doggone thing into his Volvo every time.
I
he
know.
moves it over. I don't know how he does it.
How interesting. Like, I think they're having their next event, the war simulation. Trying to think of the word they use. It just escapes me. I know, Tom, you've been there. They're doing
Yeah,
Battle of the Wars.
I've been to it a few
The
times.
battle for the airfield.
Yeah,
And
that's
it
long
is
name
just
for it.
world class. They put dynamite out on the runway, and they have tanks coming along, and they have it synchronized so that they shoot that German 88, which is a huge gun.
Yeah.
And people all have to have earplugs in for this reenactment. They shoot the 88 with a blank in it, and simultaneously they blow up some dynamite in front of a tank, so it looks just like the tank's been hit, and it going through everywhere.
Yeah.
And the people are all cheering, and they get
Yeah.
thousands of people at those demos. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
almost-
reenactment. You hit the word there, Tom.
Exactly.
That's his call. Yeah.
Pretty much all the armor in that museum is operational. That's the great thing about that. It's not just static trailer queens. This stuff actually fires up for the most part. I mean, I'm sure there's a few that are hard to get up and moving, but you walk around the museum, you see oil pans sitting underneath a lot of these equipment because they're old equipment, they leak.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great. I've been once. It was absolutely worth every cent to go. So I'd encourage, if anyone wants something unusual to do, go check it out.
If you have a little spare money, you can spend $400 and go up for a flight in their Chrysler Storch,
Yeah.
which is the one that's flying. And that thing is so slow that you can run alongside it, I swear. You go up in there,
It's huge.
The side windows hang out. It was a German observation plane used in World War II. And it's just the most incredible ride if you feel like spending money. It was fantastic.
Gee, if it
You
goes
can
that
actually
slow,
wait till September when the national fly through. There's a set of aircraft that fly all over the country, and they come in usually when a local historical operation is happening, like Collings. And you can go to Worcester Airport and you can fly in a B-17 for $400 or $500. So,
Right. I know. I don't know if they're still doing that. I think only reason is because I think that B-17 is the one that crashed a few years back, unless they managed to get another one. But that's the one that crashed with people on
no,
board.
I only know from a few years ago.
Yeah, it was around 20.
yeah, I saw that B-17 at Quonset down here. That was pretty impressive, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think it was called the 909. Memory serves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the only flying B-24 Liberator. There's only one in the world that flies. There's lots of static displays, but it's the only one that flies. And I've seen that fly a number of times. Yes, it's good at comprehensive war museum, operational war museums you'll find, really.
Yeah, superb.
Yeah, I live right under the airport to Providence, to, Green. And every now and then, you'll hear a plane and you say, well, that's not a jet. And that doesn't sound like a normal propeller plane coming in. And you look up and it's some guy coming into landing and he's flying a Mustang.
Yep.
Or
Can't
it's a
can't
German
mistake
Falcon or
the
something like
Packard
that.
Merlin.
Yeah.
But
That's a pretty scary airport. That airport is surrounded by those huge TV towers. I remember I was trying to get in their special VFR one day, and it was really scary because there are these immense towers all around the airport, and they go way up there.
to dive right in.
They
Yeah,
come right over my house when the airport's acting.
that's great. Hey, Tom, would you like to show a few photos from Friedrichshafen?
Sure, I'd be happy to if there's nobody else that wants.
Is anyone else before I cut off to you?
Yeah, I will start out and give you a little more peek at this incredible show. Once again, the Friedrichshafen Hamfest is at the end of June in Germany, at the very southern part of Germany, where it's on the border with Switzerland, with the Lake Constance in between. We get anywhere from roughly around 20,000 people, so it's about number 2 in the world compared to Dayton. Dayton gets more than that, but that's a huge turnout. And the wonderful thing about this show is you see radios, just miles of radios that you've never seen before, that never show up in the United States. So I'll just run through a few of them. I'm not an expert on this, John. You may be able to identify some. We may be able to pull out a
But we
marker.
also have Ross on the call, which is a rare occasion, so he can always help out too. And some of these identify some of these
There's a little,
oddball ones.
yeah, right. Now, there's a little symbol there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm
but,
looking at that one, and I'm trying to see if I can recall what that is. That's not a symbol I've seen all that often, but it looks German.
No, I'm afraid.
I'm surprised that Ross jumped right in on this. This looks right up his alley. What do you think, Ross?
It's a
Well,
rather
it
nice
looks like it might
document.
be an RFT, but I don't know. It's not one I've seen before. It looks like a Volksempfänger.
No, they're quite different from that.
Oh, are they? Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see. I think I have a
I'm
bunch of
unfamiliar
those.
with them. I don't. These are not ones that I work on a regular basis. So
You want the nice,
I'm
complex,
unfamiliar.
newer ones, right, Ross?
Yeah.
The ones that rip your hair out. Those are ones.
So the price you see on these radios is basically the same as dollars. The euro was about the same, on par with the dollar. And that looks like a nice looking radio for 160 bucks, but not being a collector of them, I don't know how it would stand up. We know TVs are hard to move, and I think most of the ones I saw at the show stayed at the show.
Yeah.
All sorts of tubes, but they aren't the kind of tubes you're used to. They're European tubes of all types, and wonderful display of them. So if you need tubes, this is definitely a wonderful place to get them. And they're wonderful little things peeking out from under covers when people go off to the restroom or something. They'll leave these things. I don't know what that baby is in the back. Or can't quite see the markings on these.
Yeah, it's a portable. I'm trying to see the
Shao maybe on the back.
It looks like a Schaub. SCHAUB.
Yeah.
Schaub.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe the B got broken off or something. It's hard to, because there was the
And it
Schaub
says-
Lorenz, of course, when they're.
Yeah.
The label says it's restored and 80 bucks. And down here, signal bow Huth, maybe a signal generator. Let's see, there's a
Possibly,
loudspeaker on the right. It says Lang, might be an amplifier.
It says Lang means long.
Okay. Well,
I think it's a radio. If you look on the
Yeah.
left, you see an antenna connector.
yeah, you're right. Up there on the left, it's a marked antenna. Now, that's an interesting little set. People like the sets with the tube showing out front or on top, and they go for a pretty good price. This one is some kind of test equipment, it looks like, although it might be military. Empfänger means receiver, and proof means test, and sender means transmitter. So it's a receiver test transmitter, which probably translates into a signal generator for testing receivers. 10 to 100 megahertz, so it's a wide range. 1 microvolt to 50 millivolts signal output. So I guess you could hook that to a receiver and get a pretty good readout of what's happening. There's a bunch of additional test equipment. The one on the top, now, let's see what that, if we can read that, not very readable. The one on the bottom, spanning means voltage.
Yeah,
And
regulator.
probably means regulator. So that's probably a variac on the right and the
Yeah.
ammeter, voltmeter on the right. So it's
Yeah.
basically a power supply and maybe different frequencies now, 0 to 220, 220 to 400. Don't know what that's about. Yeah, that's the voltage. Okay, so that would set the DC voltage, I imagine. Let's see what else we got here. This is a really nice looking set. I don't think I showed this last time, did I, John? I think I started off at the spot where I quit last time. Particularly attractive looking radio. I don't know if we can get
That's a French, as I recall.
That thing is beautiful.
You can see by that, yeah, you can see there's French words, you know, grand, petit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely, yeah, I didn't somebody in our club have something similar to this, whether it was George, something he might have brought it up in one of our contests or something. I'm trying to remember. This looks vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
Neat radio. Really neat
I
radio.
thought Bruce had something maybe, yeah?
He had some Russian radios for sure. Now maybe he's got one.
I thought he had a French one too.
You
That
may be
was
right.
really beautiful.
Maybe.
Yeah, you might be right, you.
I can't quite read what this one is.
Same.
High frequency voltage on the right, kilohertz on the left. So who knows, maybe a receiver. It looks like it has a little dial in the middle there. My shaky hands made it, so I can't read that very well. But here's another real pretty looking set. These things there's so many of them that the price is really very good. This looks like it's called an Amplix.
Amplix Capri.
Very pretty.
Yeah, it is. I love the dial face.
Yeah. Let's see if it says anything more. Amplix radio, it says up there.
Amplix.
But yeah,
That's
the dial
nice.
is just magnificent.
It's supposed to look interesting lit up at night. Yeah, lit up the dial face at night.
Keep your, yeah, sorry,
That's cool.
I'm not unmuted.
I don't collect foreign radios, but that would be worth it right there. That thing is beautiful, and I love the color.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a really interesting set. Very nicely made. I can't make out the maker of it, but the design is very attractive, I think.
Yeah, it almost looks American in its style.
Yeah.
But it's not, you know.
Definitely not, right? Sitting next to that other one I just showed.
That looks like, I don't think that's wood. Do you think that's plastic, or is that, like a nice high-end, is that wood? It's
Bakelite.
Bakelite.
I'm guessing it's Bakelite, but I don't know.
It doesn't look
hard to make those curves in wood.
I agree.
You could do that in Bakelite pretty easily, I think.
Yeah. What an attractive radio. And really
beehive coil receiver on the right on top, maybe a microphone, and I don't know what's on the left there. I can say there's a little crystal detector.
Radio.
The horizontal tube there.
There's the tubes on both of those top radios are crystal detectors in a glass tube.
Yeah, yeah.
I love those. I have but very few genuine ones.
Yeah, and they're cheap at these shows, complete with the receiver. You don't even have to mount it. That's a nice looking little set on the right. I don't know what SP stands for, but part of the fun of the show is just seeing stuff you're never going to see again.
Like lips.
Yes. I don't know if that radio has any markings on it.
I think that's an Emerson, is it not?
Emerson 520.
Matter of fact, I sold that exact grill to Bob Harris for the post.
That's right. The one that got electrocuted by nature and blew the grill off.
Yeah.
Do you guys realize that the lips is a telephone?
Yeah, because of the cord.
Yeah,
Right.
I just had to jump in.
That would be a little weird to use.
Yes. Yeah, a bunch of interesting little plastic radios up top there. Small radios,
Oh, yeah.
easy to get home. Look at that guy on the left over the wooden radio. That's a really interesting design. Yeah. And again, I've never seen anything like this anywhere before. So it's a great show. Some more.
Oh, yeah. There's
A ducky radio in the middle. It looks like a Nordmende in the middle, isn't it, John?
it could be a Grundig Nordmende sitting somewhere. The first one I'm looking at seeing. Let's see here. It's just,
We got a Gulf Europe. We've
A
got
Gulf.
a Gulf there. And this one,
One's
don't know what this guy is here. Looks sort of Nordmende-ish to me.
No, it's another Gulf.
No, it's a Gulf. It's a Gulf, yeah.
It's not
So
just
have
a
you
VW.
ever heard of a Gulf before or ever seen
No.
a Gulf?
Only as a Volkswagen, you know.
Anatech and
Yeah, it's a
Looks-
strange makers that you never see.
maybe an antenna on the left there, tunable antenna possibly, remote antenna,
That's a good,
Panavox and cute little pocket radio.
yeah.
Go behind this. A lot of American military stuff. This is a 1300, BC 1300, I think, if I'm correct. Fairly popular among hams. You can modify it and put it on 80 meters AM, 75 meters AM. This is a Phillips. Have you seen one of those before, John?
No, not at that age.
Yeah.
That's that's an unusual looking radio.
I've never seen anything like that.
I don't know how you tune. It looks like there's a little metal thing
like
sticking out in the middle that goes up and down.
Yeah.
Maybe that's volume. P on the left and S on the right, the two dials. Very peculiar. Let's see what else. This guy, no name. Same thing with the bottom. Might be a Phillips on the bottom. That
Yeah,
logo.
that badge looks
familiar.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Like an old national dial there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
And this
Braun.
is Braun, it says, but it looks like on the radio, it says it's a Gloria.
A Gloria.
And over here, we got a Siemens on
Siemens,
the
yeah,
left.
Siemens, yeah, sure.
Don't know what else there, but
Gloria.
it's a nice cabinet, unusual.
Yeah, it's a good looking. I've never seen one like that before.
Yeah. Maybe some kind of tool in the front there. I don't know what it is. Okay, a bunch of radios. Move on. This is a classic RFT. Most of these were used on German U-boats as morale radios, and you tune to the fatherland and listen to the patriotic songs while you were out there on your U-boat hunting around. They have external antenna connections and stuff, but I think some of them were used after the war just as general radios. I think that's a band switch on the top little thing that you see there. I've got a couple of those, and they're interesting radios. They're well made, they work, and they're quite historic. You see them in the radio room, many pictures of submarines.
Sure.
And this one, what do we got here? It's a telephone.
That's a Telefunken. Yeah, I thought that
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
That's pretty. That's got to be like early 30s. You know.
Yeah. And you can see there's an RFT, the morale radio left, there's one on the right. If you look in the back there, there's another one and another one. They made a lot of them. And not all of them went down with the U-boats.
Evidently not. And it's good
They're-
morale.
Yeah, right. And this one's rather nice looking. Seth, the wood case is nice on it. Fine.
Yeah,
Any
no
more
idea what
name?
this is. $200.
Doesn't seem to be a name on it, but oh, it's one of those babies with 4 tubes sticking out of the top. They really look pretty when those tubes are lit up.
I bet.
That would be a nice set. $200. And down here, maybe, don't know. Another RFT morale radio on the right. If it isn't the same one we've been looking at. This is a German field walkie-talkie, essentially. It's the German World War II equivalent of the American walkie-talkie. It's called Feldfu, as in field funk, meaning field radio. And it sticks up out of the top. You wear it on your back. The battery pack is on the bottom. There are 3 little plugs here for earphones on the right, and it's crystal controlled. So you select a bunch of frequencies by turning that dial, click dial, and you're picking different frequencies. The black things in the middle, left is volume and right is squelch. So it's a VHF radio operating at about 49 megahertz. Very widely used and popular among World War II collectors. They sell for between $75 and $150 at the show, but in this condition, it would probably go for 40 or 50.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough.
Not beautiful.
Yeah.
And some telegraph keys, an American leg key on the left, clip on the leg key, and a Swiss key in the middle, and probably another Swiss key on the right. Polar relay is in that brass cylinder there, and looks like this is a classic German World War II receiver, tunable receiver with headphone jacks on the right. One of the types of sets you typically see in any World War II setup. Are we running out of time, John? Shall I quit and go on?
No, you can go ahead for a bit. Yeah.
Okay, just give me the high sign. Very nice Italian telegraph set with in those days, they didn't really trust copy by ear using sounders, so they preferred to have the signals written out on paper tape as literally long and short marks on the tape for dots and dashes. And that's a fairly nice looking set. That set would be a couple of $100 roughly. And some books on telegraph written by an Italian guy who likes to collect scientific instruments. So here you see a couple of Geissler tubes. They glow different colors when you put high voltage on them. In the back, you see an old X-ray tube, an early X-ray tube. Little steam engine that should appeal to some of our group, a little unusual electric motor on the left. Little crystal set here, looks like there's a cat's whisker on it, and telephone handset on the right. Oh, big mix of stuff on this guy's table. And here's another look at the motor. Very nice little crystal receiver with the cat's whisker on top. Another one of those German World War II field radios up in the background there. A standalone crystal detector in the middle. A little tiny radio with a crystal detector on it in the foreground. So if you're a crystal guy, you can just go wild at these shows. I don't know what the monkey is in the back there. Let's see if it tells us. Looks like it's a monkey putting up an antenna. Who knows? Anyway,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of crystals in a little container there on the right if you want to build your own crystal radio in that little red box there on the right. Wonderful books. mostly in German, but some very historic and important books on early radio, early telegraphy, and stuff like that. Very, very low prices. This is a, what do you think, John? B&O? Looks
Yeah,
like,
B&O, Bang and Olufsen.
would it be?
Yeah, B&O. Yeah, that's probably from
Certainly
the,
looks like it.
yeah,
Bang & Olufsen.
Bang and
Doesn't-
Olufsen. Yeah,
Doesn't quite look up to their image of today.
yeah. You know,
But
there's I
Isn't
forget.
that fun?
There was a gentleman at our, I think it was our last big event in March, that had a few older ones who were absolutely stunning. And I forgot the gentleman. He had all
Yeah.
these neat, unusual European sets, and he had a couple of Bang and Olufsen.
It'd be fun to see what kind of speaker is in there and turn it on, and listen to it and see if it lives up to the
Yeah, right,
expectation.
to the fidelity they claim. Yeah,
Yeah, look at the price for $50. How could you go wrong?
it's hard to
Just-
not want to take that home, right?
Yeah, really, really tough. There's so many things though.
Looks
Pay
pretty
100 for
complete.
the baggage.
Yeah, yeah.
My baggage is for enigmas. Let's see what we got here. We got a Tetzel.
I've just read it. The Koch and
Let me see if I can
Stencil,
sharpen.
could be stencil. I think
Oh,
it's
there
Koch.
I just sharpened it up. Okay.
Koch
Koch
and
and Stelzel in Dresden,
Yeah.
Germany. Yeah, amazing what you can do. And that little set's kind of cute for $50.
Yeah. No, very interesting, and not outrageously priced, just as long as you can
Right.
find it, you know.
Yeah. Again, tubes of all kinds. German tubes are rather peculiar looking. Those over in the center of the picture. But boy, if you need a set, if you have a set and you need a tube, this is the place to go.
Yeah, sounds it.
On the left, you see a classic World War II German field radio. It's a transmitter and receiver set with a big tuning dial in the middle. Don't know what the set is in the middle there. In the front, it looks like an interesting set.
Yeah.
Looks like a receiver with all the
Yeah.
names of possible stations on it. It's $50, and who knows? Can't quite, well, maybe it's looks like maybe a Perera. Is that
Yeah, I see that Perera. I'm like, I've never heard of all these names. I have no idea who these are, whether it's even German. Let's see if we can
sharpen it up, Perera or something like it. And no, PTB looks like it has a logo of some kind.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Nothing jumps to me.
This is one of those sets that just draws great attention. Radio with tubes showing and some beautiful coils, $300.
Oh, I'd so take that home.
Yeah.
Look at the slant front Bakelite. Is it missing a tube in the top, do we think?
Say again?
I'm sorry. Is it missing a tube in the top between the
Yeah, it
tubes?
looks like they're in the
Yeah.
middle there. There's a tube missing. And who knows what goes down here? For all I know, it might be a crystal detector. Look at those great coils on the left and on the right. I think that maybe the one on the left is a I don't know, a spear. Who knows?
I think I have a couple of those honeycomb coils
Yeah.
in my collection.
Yeah, they're neat. The show is just wall to wall with those coils. There are a couple of $50 radios. I don't know if we'd be able to.
See, that is a I think that,
Oh,
is
there
that
we
a
go.
Telepunk. That's a Telepunk in there,
Is it?
Tom. That one there's you know, it's
Yeah,
like
you're right.
mid 30s, I would say. I'm trying to remember the model. There's so many. It's hard to get the models right in that era. But
Right.
that's not too bad a shape. It looks, you know, I mean, assuming it's all, and down below that one, that below has an interesting dial face. I just don't know what the maker is.
Yeah.
an unusual one.
I'm afraid that when I try and hold the camera, my hands shake and I can't get real good sharp images.
Yeah, it's
But,
okay. It's okay. It's
at
really
least-
interesting. I've never seen a dial face like that before. And I think the logo is in the center of the dial.
Looks like I took a special picture of it, so maybe, oh, it's a B&O
You know,
again.
yeah, that would
Holy
explain it. It's
mackerel.
not un-German-like, so that would explain it. What an interesting, what a beautiful dial face. It's
Isn't
very,
that neat, though?
it's
And
got
to
a
think
real-
you put your logo in the middle of the dial pointer like that, B&O. Wow.
that's
That's
neat. I've never,
Bang & Olufsen, is that Swedish or Norwegian or something? Where are they located?
I think it is.
In Nor-
I wanted to say it's one of the Scandinavian countries. I'm trying to think which one.
It's Dutch, isn't it Dutch?
Oh,
Dutch,
maybe you're right.
maybe.
Maybe you're right.
Yeah.
How come some of these radios have such a complex dial face compared to American radios?
I think they don't trust people to look at numbers. They figure people are going to want the name of a city to listen to, so they put the city name instead of the numbers on there. I don't know. It looks like it.
And I'm also curious as to why there aren't the frequency isn't better displayed on radios like that. A lot of detail in one little face.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Let me see. I don't even. Oh, sorry. Let's see if we can see what the numbers are like there. I don't know whether in megahertz or. Oh, I just skipped back. Sorry.
They're probably in meters.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like
Yeah.
meters. 600 going around, but then there's an alternative dial down there and some other
Yeah.
kind of. Maybe if I could read it better, maybe they're two different languages. Moravia, Trieste, and
Yep.
what does it say? You can't read down there.
And I did see in the next we're over Gothenburg, so that's Sweden. So we got we got Sweden covered. Lisbon,
Yeah,
I think Odessa. So it's the beautiful dial face. It's impressive the relief printing, how they do this, and it's so relatively clear. I'd love to see it lit
Yeah.
up, with the dial light, see what it looks like.
And here we have a good old Johnson Viking adventurer or whatever up there. On the left is the case for a Russian cipher machine power supply, codename Fialka. Down below, we see a Russian field radio, portable field radio. All of those are Cold War things. You see a great many Russian Cold War radios here. A lot of them were made in the Ukraine, surprisingly enough, but people bring them to this show to try and get American dollars, which are kind of hard to come by in Russia. And so you can get a huge number of Russian radios, very cheap. That radio is probably in working condition, probably VHF basically, and it might be as low as $25 or $30 or euros. Because there's just so many of them. They have tremendous competition. Everybody's trying to sell them, and they can't get a real good price for them. What do we got here? Let's take a look. Amplify the
something newer.
That's a Barlow Wadley.
Oh, wow.
Barlow Wadley, made in South Africa.
Interesting. Good call. I would not have known that. Where
Nice.
they were from.
Wow.
They seem
You
to have.
guys are amazing.
I've never seen one before. I wouldn't have known which one.
I have two of them upstairs.
Really?
When are you going to do show and tell, Ross? We got to get you on show and tell.
Wow. That's amazing.
How cool.
Uh,
That's from
okay.
what? Probably the late 60s, early 70s, Ross?
Something like that. And it's a Wadley loop drift canceling oscillator system. So you have one dial for kilohertz and one for megahertz. There's no band switch.
Interesting.
Your left knob is I'm pointing to it like you can see it. The left knob is your megahertz. The right knob is kilohertz. And then there's a pre-selector, which is basically that knob on the left that says antenna trim. And there's it actually has a BFO in it, and that upper right hand knob there is your BFO.
Oh, man, you are amazing, Rob. That is the
One of
most obscure radio I've ever seen. And
they're a nightmare to work on.
Probably.
One of the ones I have upstairs also has the FM package on top. It was an addition that got added on at the top with the FM band on it.
wow. Very
I'm gonna
cool.
go-
That uses like a Wadley loop.
That uses a Wadley loop,
It is, okay.
just like this one right here. This is also.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I have one of
Oh.
those.
Nice.
How
Nice
interesting.
radio, the Raquel.
This is another Russian field radio. Don't know if I can see what the frequency range is, but there are lots of them. This is in lousy condition, so this would probably be $20 to $30, if that much.
Yeah,
Looks pretty beat up.
yeah.
And below we have a looks like a really high-class digital receiver of some kind.
Hmm.
Don't know. And move on to the next one. And we've got what is it?
So they're trying to VEF.
EF, maybe?
No idea who, I've never seen one of these before. I'm not even sure that's German.
Yeah, it looks like it might be. Let's see if I can read any of the writing on the
Looks
dial.
like it's all shortwave radio, judging from the.
Not much additional clue there in terms
Yeah. Pretty bare bones.
It's got 10 transistors, so that's awesome.
of. And $1 a piece, there you go. Okay, down here we have on the far left bottom, there are two Russian Cold War spy keys, such as they use on their field portable sets. And those sell at the show for about $20 or 10 to $20. Really crappy couple of Russian keys to the right of those. You could have those probably for $2 a piece. Same thing with the two in back. That's the same key as these white ones without the cover. In front on the right are two black Russian keys, little better made. They might cost you $20. Next to those are two more of those little Russian spy keys. Again, anywhere from $10 to $20. There's so many of them, and so many of the dealers have these keys that you can bargain them down to practically paying you to take them away. Couple of normal HT handy talkies there, a couple of power tubes in the back, probably German tubes, but I don't know. But that's a typical display of telegraph keys. Couple of batteries, wet batteries, if you want to power your set, and a whole bunch of little Bakelite, looks like switches or capacitors. Probably not pots, but I can't really tell. You never know what you're going to find when you poke around inside boxes. More tubes and earphones of all kinds.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The military earphones mostly. They sell for very little, €5 or less typically. And these are American aircraft radios. In the middle there might be a low frequency receiver. The one on the right is a fairly well-known surplus. Up in the upper right, a fairly well-known surplus receiver can be converted. That's the tuning dial that you see up there, and it has a flexible cable that goes off to a remote tuning dial. So you can have this receiver buried somewhere in an aircraft and still tune it using the remote.
That's an RCA, I forget what they call that. It's an
Yeah.
aircraft radio with, I don't know, I want to say an ARV, but I may be wrong. I have one downstairs.
Yeah,
What's,
it could
what's
be.
the wooden guy in the bottom there with the brass rails on either side?
That's a spark coil.
It is a spark coil. That's why I recognize the breaker in front.
Right. Let me just see if I can answer anything on that receiver first, and then we'll poke around on the other thing. Can't quite read it. The label's there, but you crank that little crank to tune the frequency. And again, that's a flexible cable that goes off to a remote version of this for remote tuning. Let's go over to that. That looks like an aerial camera in the case there in the upper left. A Russian military field radio on the very far left lower, and a little spark coil or Quack medical device, either a spark coil or Quack medical down there. And it looks like 2 sirens here in the very middle bottom. Although they could also, I guess, be signaling lights for more signaling. Okay. This is a classic. I know most of these radios. This is a classic German World War II field radio, not easily carryable, but you find them set up in many of the field installations during World War II. I think this is a transmitter, but I'm not sure. And there's a smaller transceiver set that is just in front of it on the left, and something else in a case. I think we're coming pretty close to the end of where our attention span is going to hold out for German radios, but we'll just look at this, and nothing very obvious here except a pretty nice looking speaker up in the back.
Very attractive.
Looks like a remote compass on the right. That is a German aircraft camera in the middle with the lens showing. Looks like maybe a circular ceramic potentiometer in the lower right. And in the right there, and I didn't see this, damn it. That's an Enigma case.
Oh, and you didn't come home with that?
I took a picture of this thing and I didn't even look at what I was taking a picture of. But that's a German, it's called a Panzerholz case. It's a metal case with wood sandwiched in between to give it a little bit of shock resistance. And I imagine there was no Enigma in it, but boy, if there was, I'm gonna kick myself.
You're probably really mad.
But that's what they look like. And right on the end, it usually says Chiffre machine Enigma or cipher machine Enigma. And man, that case is just sitting there, just completely blocked on it. I was so interested in the pictures, I missed.
You were attracted by that speaker, the one that got away, Tom.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, guys. Now I'm really embarrassed. I'm gonna turn the
let the record show.
Holy mackerel.
we wanted to leave the meeting on a high note, Tom, and now you're gonna walk around very despondent.
Bad news. Wow.
Hey, Tom, just a question about dealing. Were you able to deal like in America? You can deal with the dealers?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Bargain?
You can bargain yourself blue in the face with these guys. Most of them speak English, but some of them pretend they don't. It is good to know how to count in German. 50 is 50, for instance, and 40 is 40. And 30 is 30. And if the guy's asking 50, you offer 30, and you end up with 40 in the middle. So, that kind of dealing is definitely done. If the guy is feeling okay with you, if he's not out to just bust your whatever, he'll deal with you in American. And one of the most common things, if you have any question about dealing with people, you always carry a little card with you and a pencil, and you say, was kostet das? And you point to this thing, and he writes out 50, and you write down 30 underneath it, and you hold it up and he says, yeah, or nine. So that kind of dealing is very common, Richard. It's and it's fun. Most of the dealers enjoy it.
Yeah.
They sort of, I'd say they all expect it.
Yeah.
Did you go with Dr. Forte at one time? Did you meet him there?
Yeah. Robert and I went several times to that show, and he had just a wonderful time. I had a more wonderful time because I brought back an Enigma. He's a neat guy.
Yeah, he texted me this morning. As a matter of fact, he's touring the Adriatic coast of Italy right now with his wife. So he'll be back in a couple of weeks.
That's great. I went there after Friedrichshafen one year, and it's a lot of fun. I'll have to send him an email, see how he liked the trip. He's a neat guy. He also shared a booth with me at the Reading, Pennsylvania World War II reenactment. And that's a huge show. That's even bigger than Dayton. 30,000 people turn out for that show. It's at the Reading Airport in, I think, early June every year. And they do incredible reenactments with blank cartridges, and they have flyovers of all the famous military aircraft. It's an amazing show.
Yeah, of course, he had been in the Air Force at one time. Yeah.
Yes, right. And he loves military radios. We've traded them back and forth for years.
Yeah, he's a great asset to our club.
Oh, he sure is. He's a great asset to everybody.
Oh, all right. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're getting close to the witching hour. Well, it's actually a great meeting. Appreciate everybody's contribution. It's a nice just round robin of all that's going on. And thank you, Tom, of course, as always. It's always fun seeing these neat vintage electronics that most of us, including myself, have never seen before until now, or rarely see in a blue moon.
I'm sorry for taking so long, though, John. I thought you had something.
No, mine was optional. With an open forum, I sort of put that as the, from the Arizona Antique Radio Club. I had some shots from the August event that Rob, in fact, I guess your British Radio is from that particular show. And so I might even have a photo that I don't remember offhand. But it's more of a backup. But since you guys provide so much material, I didn't have to do anything. I can always save that up for another meeting. So never a problem, guys. But
I'd like to give a before we go to Ross, W1EKG. It's good to see you on, Ross.
Same here, Mark. My apprentice John, who you know, was here working tonight, and early this evening he asked me if I had heard from you, and I said, "Gee, I haven't. I need to call him and talk to him." And here you are. So hello.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you, Ross, for blowing my socks off by identifying that radio. Ross was at the MIT show with me. How did you like the show? And did you find anything there?
The only thing that I bought, you can hold on 1 second.
Sure.
This show, guys, is really worth the trip, and it's easy. It's on Sunday, and you can park anywhere and go in and just have a wonderful time. And they're with 100 dealers, you're not going to be disappointed, right, Ross?
That's right. Yeah, it's a shadow of what it used to be. When I started going to the MIT flea market back in 1992, it was in basically both parking lots on either side of the garage. Well, both of those parking lots have been filled up with buildings now, and there's just the garage. It's not what it used to be, but it's still fun. One of the high points of the MIT flea market is there's a bunch of young people running around with maroon colored t-shirts on that say Harvard and MIT Amateur Radio Club or Society.
Wow.
And these are young kids. And I when I was checking in several months ago, I've only been 3 times this year, must have been back in May. The young lady who was checking me in, I said to her, she had an HT on her hip. I said, are you a ham? She goes, oh yeah, I'm W9XYZ. I don't remember her call. She's from Wisconsin. She's an MIT student and she's a licensed ham. And she goes, all the kids wearing the red shirts are hams. I went, you got to be kidding me. This is great news. So that was definitely a high point of that. But this is what I bought. This is the dumbest radio I own. It's a reproduction. It's a reproduction of a Bush, which is an English radio.
Sure.
It does not have shortwave on it, unfortunately. It does work. I don't have a station tuned in. I was fiddling around with the knob. It actually sounds pretty nice. Picked it up for 20 bucks. Couldn't say no to that. I have no idea why I bought it, but here it is. And that was the only thing I bought. I sold a ton of stuff, but didn't buy much. I'm trying to thin out the collection. My 28-year-old son and my 33-year-old son have been telling me that if I die soon, that everything in this building is going into a dumpster.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, some of you know Paul, WNGTX. My wife has him on speed dial, to come and clean out the ham radios, the vintage amateur radio stuff, the World War II aircraft radios and so forth. But my kids want nothing to do with any of it other than the hi-fi. They like the stereo gear, but which there's a lot of in here.
Yeah, Ross was being really good about that. He sat with his stuff at the table for quite a long time. Most of us can sit by our stuff for about 5 minutes, then we got to go run around and see what else is out there. And I was running around, and I found a beautiful precision tube tester. And I went over to Ross and I said, "You want it? 15 bucks." And they said, "No, I'm being a good boy."
That's funny. So you go around flipping electronics there, Tom. I see you've got a little side gig going on there.
Yeah. Lots of projects, yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
great. Well,
Yeah.
and I guess I should probably, if anyone, unless anyone has
quick
anything else to add. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Question. Yeah, Tom, was that radio equipment from the gal in Winchendon? The one who put up when her husband passed?
No,
You
no,
know?
it was some KA7 who moved somewhere to the northeast and died, and the
Okay.
widow just wanted it out of there. I
see.
don't know who it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
gentlemen, I guess I should probably wrap this meeting up for you guys. It was a great meeting. Thanks for everyone's attendance. It was lots of fun and interesting things to talk about. And of course, for those who will be able to make it, I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Ross, I assume you'll be there with your usual stash.
Oh, yeah.
And stay tuned. Of course, we'll see photos and hopefully a video from it later on. And in the meanwhile, enjoy the weekend. See you in a couple of weeks for those who won't be able to be at the meet in Brookline. And take care. Enjoy the fall weather.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, John.
See ya.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Ross.
John.
Thank you. Good night. Have fun Saturday.
Yeah.